Hello everybody. I wanted to make another video. I had actually spoken a little bit briefly about it in my first video. Whoa, my lighting is so bright. Whoa. That's better. I had spoken a little bit about this subject in my first video regarding pregnancy and my symptoms. One of my symptoms actually is anxiety and panic attacks and depression, a little bit of depression. And that's what I wanted to talk about was, a lot of people suffer from this. A lot of people suffer silently from anxiety and panic attacks. They're no joking matter. They are scary as hell, and excuse my language, but they're something I wouldn't want to wish on my worst enemy. They make you feel completely helpless, and they make you feel like you're dying. Panic attacks do. This is something that I've dealt with my first pregnancy as well as now my second pregnancy. I'm currently experiencing it. I have a few things and maybe tips that might be able to help some people. I don't know if they will. I'm no doctor, and this is just some stuff that I found works for me and works for my health and my well-being. There's probably a lot of people that it may not work for. It might be something that doesn't help them at all. But I figured I would just share with you guys, because if it helps one person, then this video is worthwhile. So getting back kind of more the history, my first pregnancy, I experienced a big panic attack 6 months in. I was 6 months pregnant when I had my first real panic attack. I had never had one before. It hit me out of the blue one night after I had a giant piece of chocolate cake, or it was pie. I had a giant piece of chocolate pie, and it was so good. It was that Hershey's, like Sara Lee pie. It was so good. And I was just sitting in the bedroom with my husband, and we were getting ready for bed, and I laid down, and we were watching like Futurama or some funny cartoon, adult cartoon. And all of a sudden I felt it hitting, like I felt it coming. My heart was pounding, and I didn't know why. I didn't know what was happening. I had never experienced it before. And my heart pounded harder and harder and faster, and it scared me. I didn't know what was going on. I know I do actually have like a heart, not really a condition. It's not something that will hurt me, but I do have an irregular heartbeat. I just have an extra heartbeat every once in a while. So a normal heartbeat, you feel it bump, 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 bump. And mine every once in a while will go bump, 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 bump. Like it'll try and catch up for the missed period of time that I didn't have it. It's a weird feeling, and it's a weird sensation, and you can feel it happening. I don't know if there's many people that can experience that or can feel it. But it kind of runs in my family. My dad has it, my brother has it. It's just a weird, you feel it, and it kind of freaks you out a little bit, and I think that's what started the panic attack for me, because I felt it doing it, and I didn't know what it was, because I had never really felt it like that. During pregnancy, you're filled with so much more blood and so much more volume, and your heart actually changes position, and it gets huge, so all that being said, I felt it really, really hard, and it scared me half to death. And then once my heart started racing and everything started kicking in and the adrenaline kicked in when you get a panic attack, you feel like fight or flight, like you have to run, or you have to do something, or you gotta go to the hospital, you gotta just do something, right? Well, it ended up lasting for 2 hours. I was on the roller coaster. It would come and it would go. I was shaking. The adrenaline wore out, and I was shaking, freezing cold with cold sweats, but I was hot, like I was burning up. I felt like I was having a heart attack. That was my main symptom of the panic attack, is just with my heart going the way it was, I felt like I was having a heart attack. And then my next concern was I was going to kill the baby, because I'm like, in my head, it can't be good for a baby to experience that rush of everything that I experienced, and then to put that onto a fetus, that's still developing. It was like the scariest thing in my head, and I was, thank goodness my 2-year-old, he seems to be fine. He seems to have not been affected at all by it, and he's happy and healthy, and I don't think it really affected him, but that was the first time I ever had one, and it really was bad. I wanted to go to the hospital, but luckily I was in, my mother-in-law's house, and my husband, and they had experience with panic attacks before, and they knew what the signs were, and they just said, you need to calm down, you need to relax, you need to try and lay down, and it took me 2 hours, but it finally happened. It happened again while I was 8 months pregnant, and after that, I felt like I didn't want to go outside, I didn't want to go into public, I usually felt it growing when I went out to eat. Every time I'd go out to eat at a restaurant, I'd just waiting, and the anticipation of waiting for my meal was enough to send me into an anxiety, almost to a panic attack. And that's when I started training myself. And by training myself, I don't really know if it's necessarily training. I don't know if other people can do it too. I would imagine they can. I think if I could do it, other people could too. And by training, basically, I started to recognize the feelings that I would have before I'd have a panic attack. I would recognize the anxiety and the just unsettled feeling in my stomach, and then I'd notice my heart going, and I'd notice things changing. And once I realized that that's what was happening and that I was falling into a panic attack, I immediately had to train myself to completely stop whatever it was that I was doing. If I was at a restaurant having a conversation with my husband, you can ask him, I literally just went completely still, because I was recognizing the symptoms, I was recognizing the feelings, and I'd literally stop our conversation. Anything that was stimulating me at that moment in time, I had to stop. So I stopped communication. I zoned out of the restaurants we were in. I zoned out of where we are. I just tried to focus on, instead of what I was feeling, I tried to focus on one thing at a time. So I would say to myself, take a sip of water. And I'd reach for my glass and I'd take a sip. Or look over at the bar. Look over at, that other table. Look at those people over there. What are they doing? I'd literally sit there and walk my brain through things that it would normally automatically do. I would just sit there and just do step by step in my brain. And as long as I focused on things other than myself and my body, and I focused on a completely different stimulus than what I had been in that moment that I started feeling it, usually I would recognize that's what was happening. I'd focus on something else, and it would slowly fade away. And then I could resume whatever it was that I was doing. It took me a while, and at first it was kind of like, I almost felt like I was letting my husband down. He would know, because I'd obviously just stop talking to him, and I'd stop all conversation. I'd just completely ignore everything that was going on around me. But it's what I needed to do so that I wouldn't fall into that trap. That's basically what I did for my first pregnancy with my son. In between then of, having him and now that I'm pregnant again, the 2 years that I was not pregnant, I had anxiety, and I had some depression, and I had some feelings of kind of being overwhelmed, but I never actually went into a full-blown panic attack. And I'm very grateful for that, because it's nice to have had a break. Since being pregnant again, as I stated in my first video, before I even found out I was pregnant, I had a panic attack. And that was really my first sign that I was pregnant. And this pregnancy has been different as well, because my panic attacks have struck at night, when I'm asleep, when I have no way of recognizing that they're coming. I just wake up and I'm in it. There's no way of stopping it or preventing it. It just, I wake up and I'm in it and I have to go through it. You can either try to find ways to, you know, sort of stop it in its tracks, recognize it's happening and stop it, or you can write it out, which a lot of people suggest to do. You know, again, you have to recognize it's happening though. Otherwise, you're going to kind of go off feeling like you're dying and freaking out. But if it starts happening and you can recognize it, then you can, if you're at home and you're comfortable and you feel like it's healthy for you to try and roll it out and maybe figure out what it is that's making you feel that way, I'd say go for it. It's scary as heck and it's very stressful and it's not fun. But maybe that's what people need to do to actually get over it, is just accept the fact that that's what it is and then ride it out. I'm not that strong. I don't want to go through it. I don't want to feel it. I want to know it's coming and I want to stop it. Maybe I'll always have it because I don't actually figure out whatever it is that's making me do it, making me, you know, causing me to have the panic attacks. But I would much rather fight it if I can feel it coming and just recognize it and say, this is happening. Let me just completely change my train of thought. Which is what I just did, actually. I completely changed what I was talking about. I went off on a little tangent. I am sorry. Back to what I was saying about my current situation. I wake up in the middle of the night and I already have them. By that point, it's already too late to calm myself down. It's already too late to recognize that's what's happening, and I know now what they are. So when I wake up and I feel it, I know this is a panic attack. I'm gonna be okay. I need to ride it out. And I just need to go with the flow. So I guess it is kind of riding out what I do now, but it is also stopping it too. Because what I found helps me in the middle of the night is if I wake up, if I feel it, I immediately get out of bed, no matter what time it is, whether it's midnight or 4 in the morning or 2 in the morning, I don't care. I get out of bed, I go into the bathroom, I turn on one of the lights, not both of them, so it's not too bright, and I get in the shower. I get in the shower and I start washing myself slowly. I'll wash my hair and I'll focus on, you know, just breathing. I focus on breathing and I do a mundane act that I can do in my sleep. I can shower. I know how to shower. I've been showering for 26 years. So if I get in the shower and I just start washing myself and I start focusing on the different body parts or scrubbing my nails or, you know, brushing out my hair or doing shampoo and conditioner, if I think about something so mundane as taking a shower, then my focus on myself and my body and my thoughts go away. And that's the only way mid-panic attack I've been able to actually calm myself down. It's a very difficult thing to do. It takes time, and you have to have panic attacks in order to learn how to get over them or how to recognize them and say, you know, this is what it is and this is how I personally can get over it. I take a shower. Some people might not be at home. When you're not at home, focus on something completely different. Get up from wherever you are. If you're at work, get up, go to the bathroom, go take a walk. You know, do something different than whatever it was you're doing when you got in that moment. And just think completely differently. Try to the best that you can. And then the next thing is you need to overcome the fear of going back into the places that you experienced that feeling, whether it be at a restaurant or at home or at your work desk. You need to just force yourself to go there. And the longer it goes where you don't have a panic attack again, the more you just sort of let it go. And over time, like I said, I went 2 years where it never happened and I didn't have it. It will go away. It slowly just sort of leaves you and you don't think about it anymore. Kind of like if you were ever a smoker and you quit smoking, which I've also done. Every once in a while you want one, but that craving the longer you go without having a cigarette, the more you're like, you know, oh, it's just a craving. And then you go about your business because you know that's what it is and you just carry on, you know? You don't give into it because that would just be idiotic and you'd fall right back into smoking again. But the same goes with panic attacks. You don't give in, really. You just sort of go with the flow, and you recognize once you've had them, you know what they are, you know when you're getting them, you feel them coming. So you just got to train yourself to recognize it. And that's the advice I have. For some people it may work, for some others it might not. You know, maybe some people have tried that and it just completely doesn't work at all, and you cannot get your mind off of that train of thought or whatever it is that you're thinking about. You know, oh, I'm having a heart attack, oh, I'm dying. But it's a really difficult thing, and it's really hard, and it's something that a lot of people don't understand, because if they don't have it, they can't relate to feeling like you're gonna die. To have the actual fight or flight response that your brain sends out that tells you to fight or run for your life, that is a natural instinct. That is something that is so deeply ingrained in our being. To have something so strong pulling at you, a lot of people will never experience that. So as terrible of a feeling it is, embrace the fact that you are so alive that you can feel that. The fact that you can feel your life so strongly and be so scared means you have so much that you're grateful for. You know, as much as it sucks that you might have panic attacks and you might be worried all the time and you might be anxious all the time and you might be scared all the time because you're afraid they're going to come back, look at it in a different perspective. You know, if you never had them, would you be so grateful to be alive right now? I know that thought changed my mind, which is why I fight. I don't run around anymore. I don't let it control me. And I fight it when it happens. I make my mind think other things. I don't sit there and let it control me. Because that's pretty much what it is. Your mind is uncontrollably forcing you to think of the worst case scenario. You gotta kick it in the butt. And with that, that's my anxiety and panic talk. I hope this helps somebody. It may not help anybody, like I said. But if you have any questions, or you can relate in any way, shape, or form, or, you know, any of my story hit home, feel free to like it or subscribe to me, or write a comment. Tell me your story. I want to hear other people's stories, because other people's stories is what helped me get to where I am now. Get to the point to be able to say, I can control it. I hope you guys all have a peaceful day. I hope no panic comes to anybody today. And I really hope you can enjoy this day for what it is in the moment. Bye, guys.